Hi, I'm Chelsea and I run the Love My Brit blog, and today I'm going to be going over the spouse visa. I'm going to go into depth in the nitty-gritty details about what to apply with and why I've chosen specific documents, as well as showing you what I put into my own application as well. The spouse visa is for married or civil partners. You have three things that you really want to prove in this on top of all of the other little details, but the biggest things with this visa is one, proving that your sponsor can meet the financial minimum requirement. This requirement currently stands at £18,600, but it can change at any time. This has to be met by your sponsor's income alone. You cannot combine your income and his income to meet this requirement. 2, having suitable accommodation, showing that you don't live in an overcrowded home. 3, that you have a genuine relationship. They want to make sure this just isn't a marriage of convenience. They want to know that this is real. Also, if you are applying for the spouse visa, be aware that you can only apply from outside of the country. You can prepare it together in person in one country or the other, but you cannot submit this application from within the UK. Things that are really good to have available to you when you are making your online application is, first off, having your spouse or civil partner nearby you, whether it's in person or on the phone or through Skype, so that they can help answer questions along the way, because there will be information that's asked of them that you might not entirely know yourself. Having your passport is another really good one to have for travel history and for your passport information, like the expiration date, the passport number, when it was issued out to you, and where. And then finally, for me, I know it really helped having my birth certificate available. I know my parents' birth dates, but the years I'm kind of iffy on, so I really wanted to make sure I had it right. And that information is on my birth certificate, so why not have it? So you're going to want to go on to the Visa4 UK website, make an account, which will enable you to be able to log in and out, save your progress at any point in time. Your application won't be considered submitted until you have actually paid for your application. Paying for your application also reserves the biometric appointment that you've selected. Otherwise, that will expire within 3 hours and you'll have to reselect that all over again. And it's kind of like a first come, first served basis. So purchasing this application submits and reserves, aka locks down, your choice of a biometrics appointment. Also make sure that if you did make a mistake on your online application, that if it's not really a significant one, like it's just a typo or something a little embarrassing, you can correct this by printing off your application and making a manual correction to the application itself. So you cross out what you didn't want to have and manually put in what you were originally intending. And then after making all of your corrections, you type up a cover letter which details the corrections and why they were made. It's really simple, nothing to sweat at all. So really big questions that I find a lot of people asking about online are, how long do you intend to stay in the UK? While our intentions are to be there permanently or indefinitely, it's more preferable to the entry clearance officer to read that you are putting down the length of the visa. So you can write 33 months, 2.5 years, length of the visa. I did both. I wrote 33 months, length of visa. I just wanted to put it out there and make sure that it was just what it was, to my knowledge. I originally put 30 months. And I made a manual correction to 33 months and provided a cover letter for that. Another really big question is, have you been refused? And have you been deported from any other country? This is any country, not just the UK as well. So if you do have immigration history like that, you do want to report it. Now this doesn't necessarily, hi Apple, this doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to call every single country you've been deported from or might have had bad history with and ask them about it, but they certainly could if they wanted to. So it's really good to put out this information, and a lot of times for most people it's not really a significant issue, so it's just something to put down, be honest. Criminal offenses. Generally, If you've been to court to deal for a criminal offense, it should be reported on your application. Minor things like a speeding ticket, I didn't bother reporting in my online application. And if you are exempt from the English language, so primarily you're exempt from the English language when you were born in a English-speaking country. So for me, I recorded that I was born in a primarily English-speaking country and that my passport proved it, which therefore made me exempt from the English language requirement. Other information is one of the last boxes that you have in there. I use that area to further discuss my travels. I live in a town that is very, very close to Canada, and I've got family just across the border. So I make frequent trips all throughout my life to Canada, and we don't have to have stamps in our passport for that kind of a travel. But at the same time, I didn't know what was going to be looked at harshly, and I didn't want to be criticized for that. So I wanted to detail that I've been to Canada, so I basically wrote that I've been to Canada in and out several times throughout my lifetime for a day or a weekend here and there, and that it didn't require stamps in my passport, but I have been making trips like these since my birth up until my current age now. So I've been doing this for a long time. The ones that I did fully detail out in the provided boxes were what were in my passport so that I had proof that I've actually been there. So the NHS IHS payment is going to be redirected to you on the government website. It's not, you don't pay for it on the same page that you pay for your application and take care of your biometrics information. It's going to pull information that you provided on your government website account and plug that into your NHS information. So for me, when I didn't have my middle name plugged in there, it was a little bit of a concern because it just said Chelsea Martin. It didn't say Chelsea Elizabeth Martin. So, I took care of that just by inquiring and emailing and whatnot, and it wasn't really a big concern for the IHS, but the biometrics appointment officer was able to take care of that for me. When you make your payment, you will be receiving an email confirming that you've paid, as well as a weird looking receipt. I printed out both of these for my applications, but I received two separate emails when I made my payment. The website really isn't easy to navigate back to once you've made your payment. You're not really able to change anything, so make sure that you take your time when filling this out. For priority processing, I just want it to be known that this is still a separate service that you have to pay for. It's not going to be on the same page as the application fee, and that you're going to have to go to the VFS Global website in order to make this happen. Not all countries have the ability to do priority processing, so I would go to the VFS website to ensure that you can do this before you really get excited about the possibility. When you submit your visa application with priority status, what it basically means is that anyone who has applied with non-priority status, you will be jumping ahead of. But if there are already 10 visas that have priority status submitted, you will just go to the back of that line. And they process the priority ones first and then go to the non-priority visas. So it doesn't necessarily mean you will be first every time, but you're going to jumpstart ahead of several other applications. I will say that the courier service for round-trip shipping for your documents for picking up and returning back to you is more than worth the money. I only paid for a return service, and when I tried to go back to make it a round-trip service, they basically told me that they would have to refund it and then try it everything, refund the whole thing, including the priority fee on top of that, in order to make it a round-trip status. And I just said, to heck with it, don't worry about it, we'll just keep it as it is. I don't want to lose anything and go back with other receipts and make more cover letters. So I just paid separately at UPS for my shipping to Sheffield office. That was pretty pricey, but I definitely would say that for those of you who are looking into it, the round trip service is more worth the money because you actually save a few bucks on that one. Just putting that out there. When you pay for your VFS Global Priority fee, you will be given, let's see if I can grab it. You will be given a sheet like this. Well, this is exactly it. And you want to put that on top of all of your documents because you want to make it known right away from the moment they see your package and from the moment they open up your documents that this is a priority service. So it will be treated slightly different with the priority status. It was totally worth the money. So the Appendix 2 is the form that really details out your sponsor's work history, has a lot more in-depth questions about your relationship and how you guys met and how long you've known each other. This is one that you print out and actually fill in by hand. So if your handwriting isn't the neatest, take your time with filling this out. But you will not be able to finish this one online. So again, things to have handy, having your sponsor around, and all of their work information and work history, because there's a lot of in-depth questions about that. Specifically like the name and address of the company he's been working for, how much money he earned, what were his previous jobs, his start date, all that information. So make sure you have those around. You're going to want it. But the Appendix 2 is slightly more thick than the actual application form. Just remember, online application, you type it up, of the Appendix 2 is filled out by hand. So talking about the biometrics appointment, I had already told you that your biometrics appointment is reserved through the payment and submission of your online application. When you make this appointment, I understand life can happen and you might need to reschedule. So if you need to reschedule, it's not a problem. You should be able to just go back onto the website and redo the whole appointment setting. It's not a big deal. It's not going to have like a major effect on you unless it exceeds the time frame, but it shouldn't. So with the biometrics appointment, when you print out your online application form, it's going to give you a confirmation sheet as well as a page that you take with you to your appointment that they will be stamping at the USCIS Department of State for the U.S. Sorry, let's put that out there. The USCIS Department of State is for North America, primarily Americans. So when I went to my appointment, I made sure that I provided my confirmation sheet, the stamped page, and my passport. When I went to my appointment, I was given a sheet that I needed to fill out separately. I handed it in to the receptionist, and then I was invited into a secondary room where I was actually waiting to deal with the biometrics appointment itself. I showed up maybe 15, 20 minutes early. They do ask that you show up a little earlier to check in, so it wasn't a problem. I waited for a few minutes with all of my documents and things in hand. I was escorted to a desk where a woman had me sit down in a chair. She scanned all of my fingerprints and then took my picture. And after she took my picture, I should backtrack a bit. When I was invited to the small room, the receptionist who took my small sheet of paper stamped my stamp page. So that was the really, really important part there, because you want to take that stamp page and put it in your documents. Fast forward, escorted to the desk where I was with the woman who scanned my fingers and took my picture. She then handed me a letter that was talking about where to send my documents next. So I was already aware that I needed to send everything to Sheffield, but it gave you the address and kind of went over a small glimpse of what they were expecting for your documents, but it was not very detailed whatsoever. So don't rely on that just alone. So all in all, I think I was there for maybe 25 to 30 minutes top. So for me, it was a relatively quick appointment, but they do warn you that it can take some time. So I imagine if they're really busy, it can eat up some of your day. And I will say that the USCIS Department of State for me in Washington State was in Seattle. So it was a little over an hour and a half of drive for me to make it to the location. So for some of you, it might not be a quick little drive into town to do and then drive back. It might actually take a good chunk of your day. So for me, I reserved the entire day off from work and made sure that all of my time could be dedicated to this biometrics appointment.